bonus episode. Bonus episode. This is an episode we're recording in case we don't get our crap together and next week lays barren. Because that's the problem with the show, Dad. Sometimes we have a class in 10 minutes and it's only going to be a 10-minute show.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
yeah. But this is an episode where sometimes weeks go by when we don't have shows. And those of you, whoever are waiting for the shows, I apologize. Apologize that we're so unreliable. But we've been busy. For instance, when Dad has been living his life, I've been mourning the dead of people I don't know, but they're famous. Okay. Let's go through the list of dead people here. Well, first, Don Henley. No, it wasn't Don. It was the other Eagles guy.
Good Frey. Well, sorry, Eagles fans.
You ever meet that guy?
No.
All right, but
Well, actually, I remember the first time the Eagles played Montreal, they were actually opening up for Procol Harum at the Pierrefonds Arena, to maybe 4,000 people, which is kind of funny considering the fact that it was like a really tiny little show. So it's pretty funny.
well, in my life of failed musicianship, to have 4,000 would earn a bottle of champagne and a plaque on the wall. If you add up all the audiences I played with over the couple of years, it might amount to 4,000. I don't know. Here I am talking me down. I'm always talking me down. Like I said in the last episode, no self-esteem. But you know who did have some self-esteem? David Bowie. Now, David Bowie, he left us, and it wasn't even in an awesome type of getting swallowed by a flower type of way that I assume Mr. Bowie would leave us, You'd think that he'd be shot into space or something like that. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on the passing of David Bowie, Dan?
Well, it just goes to show you how pervasive cancer is. I mean, you're a cancer survivor, you know. That it's when it happens, it happens.
I always assumed money and makeup would save me, but not so much. Here I'm making jokes though, but seriously, people, I've never been the biggest David Bowie fan, but I'm a big fan of who he was because I was a skinny kid playing music, wearing makeup and mesh shirts. If it wasn't David Bowie kind of shaping the universe that this is a good thing and girls find this sexy, I just would have been pummeled daily, and just assumed that that I didn't like the girls who I was trying to impress with my makeup.
I remember seeing a David Bowie show where the stage lighting was all fluorescent tubes, and it was funny because of course fluorescent tubes have a tendency of giving off radio signals, right? And so there's this hum in the sound system all day until they figured out how to ground it. So it was just kind of funny, this whole thing. There's David Bowie had his hand. There was a part of the stage where a big hand would come out, and it was when he would sing Major Tom, and he would be like,
Major Tom to ground control. This is Show FM.
No, actually, that wasn't Show. It would be CKGM in those days, but CKGM FM.
That's hard to say.
Yeah. Anyway, but it was kind of interesting because he really broke a lot of new ground when it came to shows. He would, as you say, it was lots of glam rock. That was very much him, and all of that stuff. And yeah, it's weird. And the weirdest thing is I'm 63, so that means he was only 6 years older than I was, or I am. And he just, he just makes you realize that, hey, this is, there are people doing lots of amazing things at a very young age.
Yeah, seriously. Like, he was doing things 11 years younger than me, I think, was when he first started putting out music. And the fact that he got that much done, even by the time he was 30, it seemed like every decade he had his little carved piece in it. And, there was another generation of women going oh, yeah, guys in makeup. Oh, cool.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things was just how quickly you can go out of style musically. I mean, I don't know about you, but you'd hear a David Bowie song once in a very long while, but since he's passed away, on forever on Show FM. So it's
yeah, but each decade has a little thing, he'd reinvent himself, come back. It's kind of Madonna definitely copied that model of, okay, so if I really change stuff around every couple of years, things might work out. Now, another man who, on that note, a man who never changed. He came out of the womb smoking and drinking probably, and there was the fact that he only died of cancer now astounds me because this mole on his face has concerned me for most of my adult life. And I'm not a skin specialist. But it's not even about that. It was about his lungs, I think, or something. And the thing about Lemmy from Motorhead, I wish I had a whiskey ball in my hand to salute the man. He was, like I said, one of those guys who never took care of himself. And just sometimes people who smoke and drink like crazy, you think in the ads you see in after school specials, if you smoke and drink, you'll die by the time you're 40. But this guy was pretty old considering how hardcore he is. The same thing with Keith Richards. What is with British blood? With the exception of now, because now it seems like the cutoff time is 60 something. Because anyway, before I move on to the next contestant who's also British, what is your thoughts on Motorhead and Lemmy? I know it's not your bag musically whatsoever.
Well, I actually, quite honestly, yeah, he was one of the first headbangers of the newer era. I mean, like there was of course Ozzy and those guys in the early era, but he was kind of one of the new guys because headbanger music, like the heavy metal, if you want, it kind of like you had Black Sabbath start, and then it went through a very musical phase with people like Led Zeppelin, who they had guys like Jimmy Page making it almost symphonic, but he was kind of like bringing back to the base level. I remember I worked at the Montreal record store, Sound the Record Man, and they were just coming out then. I guess that was early 80s, things like that. And they were
actually 70s.
Well, early. I'm thinking about when I was there. I mean, I was at the store in the early 80s. Actually, I think it was the late 70s. You're right. It was late 70s. And the reason I say that is because I was working there when your sister was born, and I was 79. So
yeah, and you also have to consider that they existed in England, but back then it takes a little while to get across the pond. Like
a new musical style when nobody's looking for it. When the Beatles came over, they were, it was like everybody was sick and tired of the music that had preceded it, and so it was it was something waiting to happen. But other musical genres, they would come and go, and sometimes they were applauded and embraced, and sometimes not so much.
And just moving on, but just saying, like, a great thing about Motorhead. Once again, I'm not. People out there are gonna be like, "What the hell?" But was not the biggest Motorhead fan. I liked what they were, liked what they stood for, but I didn't really put on an album from front to back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I did enjoy who Lemmy was as an individual, his wit. I liked him as a human being, and for what I saw, and I just kind of liked that he was a figurehead and an image of heavy metal, and like really brought punk rockers and heavy metal guys, which sounds ludicrous right now when I look at teenagers and stuff like that, because you're like, why do you have so much trouble hanging out if you like rap music and you like punk? That's ridiculous. It's music. Get over it, you freaking morons. But I was one of those card carrying members of the if it's not punk, it sucks club. And if I could go back in time with the DeLorean, I'd spend the entire time smacking myself in the face, being like, "You sound like an idiot." I'm really glad Facebook didn't exist back then, because I can confirm, and other people could read these idiotic statements I used to make just out loud, which I still cringe about, even though there's no known audio or video justifying these statements. Actually, there is. There's a documentary that Serena made about my old band when we're like, "Yeah, we're anarchists," and it's like, let's film. It's like as filmed in our Westmount apartment. So anyway, but who wasn't full of it? A man, an actor,
Anarchy in the West End.
Yeah. In the Westmount, Lower Westmount for what's worth. Yo, hey, under Sherbrooke is a big difference. Okay, in Westmount. So moving on to someone who's not full of it, someone who was full of life and full of awesomeness and completely deadpan half the time, but he was awesome. Mr. Alan Rickman, you may know him as Hans Gruber in Die Hard, and you know him as Snape in the Harry Potter series. He was awesome, and every role I saw him in, he just really brought it. And out of all the deaths, I think that's the one I'm kind of like, oh, crap. Because it would have been great if he could have just killed Bruce Willis in one of these movies instead. And I'd be like, "Hello, McLean. I'm one of the Walking Dead, and I'm here to kill you." Or something much more witty. Anyway, any thoughts on Alan Rickman, Dad? Although, I don't know.
Not really. I mean, I appreciated him as an actor. I was a little old for the Harry Potter movies, though I did watch them as everyone else did. But no, I mean, you just start realizing there are a lot of people out there, and you just realize that as good as people are, and you think that you'll never get over them, you just see there's just more amazing people all the time.
Yeah. He's in a movie called CBGBs, which I've never heard of until 4 days ago when I internet movie database him because I'm like, I've only seen him in 5 movies. I feel kind of bad because I just watched those 5 movies again and again and again and again. But I saw a CBGB's movie, and then I go on Facebook. I'm like, why didn't the world tell us there's a CBGB's movie? That much of my snot-nosed friends are like, everyone knows about that but you. I'm like, no, because you haven't, if you've seen it, you haven't uttered a word of its existence till now. And the Ramones are in it. And you would think, out of many of our conversations about the Ramones, you would have mentioned it. Oh, by the way, they're in a movie called CBGB's. Starring Alan Rickman. So what I'm saying out there all to all use, eat
blank.
Okay. So I'm getting off topic. All right. Dad's got to teach, and I got to pee because of the damn energy drinks I talked about in the last episode. But Alan Rickman, you died hard, but you lived well.
Now you can shake your Harry Potter.
I'm not amused. Anyway, watch him in Dogma. He's amazing. Thanks. Good night. Good luck. And if any other people kick the bucket before this episode's out, well, you know it's dated. All right. I'm Ryan Sixjolina.
I'm Philip Tuhon Jelena.
And we are out of here. And don't forget to check out the Philip Jonas Academy of Mixed Martial Arts. That's Gamma. Jonas Academy of Mixed Martial Arts at 514-281-9928.
At 1117 St. Catherine West, Suite 222.
Check out MontrealMixedMartialArts.com for further details.